Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be taking a look at how to apply our understanding of functional skills, maths and English to real life situations. Now this is the first video of 3 videos that are going to look at the cost of living crisis, and we're going to try and apply our understanding of maths and English to help solve some of the main problems that a lot of people might be going through during this time. Now if you haven't done so already, please can you like and subscribe, it really does help us out when you do so. So the first thing we're going to look at in today's lesson is we've got a couple of Scrabble tiles here, and what I want you to do is just to get you thinking a little bit about English and a little bit about maths. Can you actually try to make as many words as you can from the Scrabble tiles? If you think about the super challenge, try and add up the score for the longest word that you've come up with, and then if you can, stretch yourself and go for the mega challenge and use these words to predict the focus of today's lessons. So before we carry on, a key thing to think about is when we're playing a game like this, you can use the words more than once. So take your time with it. If you need to pause the video now, please feel free to do so. It's just a really good habit to get into to both test your vocabulary and just to get you thinking about adding up and making those finer skills that we need for maths and for English. Class feedback. Check your understanding against the answers below. So the key words that we're referring to was money, cost and advice. So what we're going to be focusing on, as we said before, is the cost of living crisis. And in terms of English, we're going to be thinking about producing a leaflet to give some advice to actually help people get through it. We also need to apply some of our maths understanding as well to make sure that we can actually apply that to real life situations. So within our actual learning objectives, we need to recall how to write a leaflet, understand how to apply maths and English to everyday life, and apply your understanding to an exam style question. So if you are thinking about, let's say, functional skills English, this will all be working towards your writing assessment, both for level 1 and for level 2. We're going to look at how to integrate those skills and help build you up and go on to the next level in your course. Look at the article and be ready to respond to some quickfire questions. So when you're looking at text, when you're faced with one, let's say in the reading paper, it's good to understand what form of writing you're faced with. Now, a key indicator that this is an article is because it's used the organisational or presentational features that you need for this form of writing. And this is actually shown through the use of a headline and also subheadings as well. So if you are going to actually write in an article for your writing assessment, then it's important that you use these key features because it will show the examiner that you are in fact writing in the form of an article. It's also really easy to use because it does also help us to actually break down our response and make sure that you're writing in paragraphs. So I'm just going to go through the extract now. If I'm going too fast, then please feel free to pause the video and go through it at your own time. So it says then, across the nation, all families have been struck by the dramatic increase in the cost of living. Mortgages, interest rates, and even the cost of food have all shot up to an unprecedented level. Help is at hand. To tackle these new changes, the government are heading a new initiative to help people with growing costs. Help for Households is a new scheme which offers financial support and advice on energy saving tips. A spokesman from DirectGov stated the government has helped households to save £1,300 on their energy bills this winter. First-time buyers, perhaps hit the hardest by the current crisis, are people looking at getting onto the property market for the first time. For our 10 top tips to save for a deposit, click on the link below. Now what we're going to do, we're going to jump ahead and we're going to start looking at the actual questions based on the article that we've just gone through. Quickfire questions. Test your understanding against the questions below. So here we're going to have 5 questions. Each of them all relate back to the article. If you need to pause it and go back at any time, please feel free to do so. And this is just going to be very typical of the kind of questions that you get within the reading assessment for both level 1 or for level 2. So question 1 then. What is the tone of the article? Select one word below. So the choice of words are aggressive, supportive, or contradictory. Now, if you're not sure what any of these words mean, please do take the time to go away and look them up either on your phone or with a dictionary. It's really important that you know these kind of words and it will help boost your vocabulary and your general understanding of English. Question number 2. Identify a quotation to support your answer. So for example, if you said that the article was quite supportive, you'd need to actually come up with a quotation, so a reference to the text where you use quotation marks and say word for word how you know it's either been supportive, aggressive, or contradictory. Number 3. Look at the line, families have been struck by the dramatic increase. Replace the word struck with another word so that the sentence still makes sense. Number 4. What is the name of the scheme used to help families? And the final one, question 5. Identify where the writer has used a statistic in the article. If you'd like to actually access the full extent of this, then please do check the description below. I'll include a link for the full lesson as well as the full reading and writing paper as well. Class feedback. Check your understanding against the answers below. Number 1. The overall tone of the article may be considered to be aggressive. Now if you've chosen something else to focus on, that's fine, but just remember your quotation needs to back up this idea. Number 2. A quotation to support that the article is aggressive would be combating the financial crisis. And the word that really jumped out to me there that made it seem aggressive is that word combating. So you've got an idea of an actual conflict or a fight, and then you've also got the word crisis, which means, a panic, something that's going on. Again, another word to use to describe a conflict, all of which makes it sound quite aggressive. Number 3. Answers may include, but are not limited to, hit, surprised, or shocked. Any other word will be accepted as well. Just make sure that you use it and it actually makes sense in the sentence. And if you're not too sure if it actually does work, try reading it out loud, because sometimes you can tell whether it sounds right or if it sounds a bit off, then that will give you the best indication of if the word works in the sentence. Number 4. The scheme created to help families is called Help for Households. And number 5, the last one. The writer has used a statistic in the line, save £1,300 on their energy bills. Look at the exam question and attempt the challenges that follow. So here we have a typical kind of question that you'd get for the writing exam. Again, this is going to be designed for practicing the skills both for level 1 and for level 2. So the question says, you've been asked to write a leaflet aimed at families advising them on how to deal with the cost of living crisis. In your response, you should write in the form of a leaflet, use the appropriate tone for the question, and use a range of deforest techniques. Now, whenever we're faced with a reading or writing question, we need to make sure that we're understanding the question very clearly. And the way to do that when you're thinking about the writing question is to first of all identify the TAP. Now, if you've watched any of our previous videos, you're probably familiar with this. If you're not, the TAP simply stands for the topic, the audience, and the purpose. So if we actually think about breaking that down, the topic here would be about the cost of living crisis. The audience would be families, and the purpose is to advise. So you can see there that I've highlighted all the main areas that you need to make sure you're thinking about, and that actually builds on with one of the bullet points down below. It actually says write in the appropriate tone for the question. So if you are dealing with families, you have to think, are you speaking formally or informally? Do you need to speak gently, or can you be quite harsh and aggressive with it? Because sometimes you can and sometimes you can't, depending on the audience. So make sure that you're fully understanding what the question is asking you. Now, if you're thinking about actually writing your response or planning your response, think about the kind of mood or tone your writing should have and what kind of words that could help create that effect. And then the final thing, recall the organisational or presentational features needed for a leaflet. We will be going through this in more detail in the next video. However, if you've watched any of our other videos, you might have already had some indication of how to set this out. Think about it almost like an actual exam. If you went into the exam now and you were told you had to do a leaflet or you had to do an article, for example, how confident would you feel about writing in that form? If you need any additional support, the new videos will be added every single week. Alternatively, visit our partner channel Bookworm Teaching for more lessons and guidance on all things English. Thanks ever so much for listening, guys. All the best. Bye.